Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Transportation Policy and Finance Division for this Tuesday, February 12th. And we have several bills on our agenda. I did talk to Representative Vogel just now, and he's going to, we're going to hear his bill next week. But we do have him here still, and so he'll be testifying for Representative Koegel's bill. So, Representative Koegel, welcome to our committee. And before we present House File 264, you can move your bill to the Ways and Means Committee if you'd like.
I'd like to make that motion, please.
Okay, thank you. Representative Koegel moves House File 264 to be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Proceed with your testimony, and we'll take Representative Poppe's bill right after yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. This bill was brought to me by my local Lions Club, and I had some testifiers here, but unfortunately they weren't able to make it because of the snow, but we happen to have a lion right here. One of our colleagues is a lion, so I called on him last minute to be my Lions testifier. So, you know, the Lions Club in my district does so much more than pull tabs and pancakes. One of my favorite local events of my Lions Club is our trunk or treat that is at the local park right by our house, and there's a ton of kids that come by in their costumes. And also our Spring Lake Park Lions Club loads up a griddle on a trailer every year and does hands out pancakes at the Spring Lake Park Tower Days, and it's probably one of the most popular floats. So these folks are up there on a hot June day flipping pancakes and handing them out to people along the parade route. So it's pretty great. And so this specialty plate would just allow Lions Club members to have their specialty plates with the Lions Club emblem on it. And I think it would do a great deal to recognize the great work that the Lions do in our community. And with that, I'll turn it over to Representative Vogel to testify.
Welcome to the committee, Representative Vogel. I don't know if you have to state your name for our record, but you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Representative Bob Vogel. And as Representative Koegel was making her remarks, I was making my notes. So, but you know, I had actually worked on this concept a few, it was last year, I think maybe even the year before. The way the Lions are organized is that you have each club that happens to be a member of a district, and the districts that we have are Minnesota, Ontario, and Western Manitoba. So what this plate would do is give greater identity. And in fact, I was just down at our Lions convention over the weekend down in Mankato for our district. And one of the things I was really impressed with, Sunday at the brunch, they had a lady come in. Unfortunately, her husband had passed away with PTSD. And the Lions now have started Project New Hope, which is getting together veterans after they get home from service to try to give them an out. And I know there's a lot of other programs like that, but it's a good example of what the Lions do, because they're really the feet on the ground that look at what's going on in their communities and come up with things to do relative to using the money that comes from pancakes and grilling. The other thing I think that's important is, as with any service club, it's getting more difficult to attract members. Everybody is busy nowadays, and I think the idea of a license plate, and everybody is familiar with what Lions are, but having a license plate makes it more visible for the community. So as you're maybe sitting there this morning waiting to move and the plate in front of you says Lions, it just kind of reinforces that not only is there credibility, but there's an awareness that there are things that we need to be doing as public service. And obviously the Lions clubs go back to 1917. I think there's like 1.5 million members throughout the world now. So great organization. It's given me a lot of opportunities, and I think one of the things that we need to do is encourage more young people to get involved, because not only does it give you an opportunity for service, but it gives you an opportunity to grow yourself and put yourself in front of people and grow some leadership skills. So thank you for recruiting me and allowing me a few moments to talk about the value of Lionism, and I think this would be a great idea.
Well, thank you, Representative Vogel. You're an excellent spokesperson for the Lions, and appreciate you being here. Any discussion to House File 264? Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to committee. Welcome my fellow Lion, Representative Vogel. And I used to really hate these specialty plates because they were expensive to produce. But now, with today's technology, we can produce plates pretty readily. And looking at the agenda today, seeing both Lions and FFA and 4-H all on the same agenda is a real treat for me because I support all three of those organizations in a big way. So. Just a little rah-rah, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Representative Torkelson. These are all good causes we can get behind. So any further discussion? Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is just generally to any of them. As usual, I was looking at the fiscal note because normally there's no cost to the state as we do each of these. Is that true for each of the ones that we're dealing with today?
There are two fiscal notes for these, and they actually have some variation in the amount, and I thought that's a good question, Representative Hausman, and we think maybe Representative Mr. Lee can enlighten us on this.
Mr. Chair and Representative Hausman, if you look at the fiscal note for House File 264, so there's some assumptions in terms of how many people would contribute to the plates, and then the cost to the agency. So this is that restricted special revenue. This is what the agency would have to cost or spend in order to get the plates, I think, recognized and organized in the vehicle licensing system. If you look on page 3, most of that cost is in programming hours for the vehicle service technology in MNLARS. That's towards the bottom of the page. You can see the one-time costs in fiscal 2020 of 786 programming hours, and then some additional costs in subsequent years. And I think the agency can speak to the assumptions in terms of programming costs further if you have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, great. That's helpful. So is there any further discussion then on House File 264? Hearing none, we'll renew our Representative Koegel renews her motion that House File 264 be passed and referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion prevails. Representative Poppe is next. But while she is making her way up there, Representative Petersburg, we have a quorum, and I would love to hear your thoughts about the minutes.
I reviewed the minutes, Mr. Chair, and everything looks accurate and appropriate, so I approve the minutes of February 7th.
Okay, the motion is to approve the minutes of February 7th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, Representative Petersburg. Welcome to the committee, Representative Poppe. It's great to see you at the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Representative Hornstein. Mr. Chair, it's very exciting to be here at the Transportation Committee,
Good.
so I
And
appreciate
I
that.
will move House File 221 to be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee as well. And welcome, and see you have a testifier.
Yes, we will have a few testifiers, and I appreciate that the Representative Koegel's bill before us was talking about the Lions and leadership and all of that, but we have actual leaders here that are youthful and are going to be able to change the world today and into the future. And so I'm excited to have that we have the FFA members here. But I also have Val Oswald, and she's going to be able to just talk about the bill as well. But it is, again, a specialized license plate that would help to support 4-H and FFA in the state of Minnesota. So I'm going to just ask, I'll turn it over to her, and she can describe it a little bit further.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
Welcome
Chair.
to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Sure. Val Archibald. Chairman Hornstein and committee members, thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit about an initiative that we feel very passionate about. On behalf of current and future FFA and 4-H members across the state of Minnesota, we ask for your support of House Bill 221 that would initiate a specialized agricultural license plate that would not only celebrate what's right with Minnesota and Minnesota agriculture, but would also allow Minnesota citizens an opportunity to actively support and fund some of the valuable programs that are delivered around agriculture by FFA and 4-H. Minnesota FFA has a rich history and bright future in regards to preparing young people to be leaders for agriculture and their local communities. Each year, about 28,000 students are enrolled in agriculture, food, and natural resource classes in grades 7 through 12, of which nearly 11,000 of these students have opted to join the FFA. FFA involvement is focused on helping students develop their leadership skills, personal growth, and career success. But at the same time that FFA is doing great things, 4-H is doing great things as well. With programs in every county in Minnesota, of their membership, over 17,000 of them are involved in agriculturally related projects. They range not only from the traditional livestock areas, but also veterinary science and a recently added program called Science of Agriculture. So you might be wondering, why are we rallying around a specialized agricultural license plate? Well, with the current economic challenges that's facing the agricultural sector, we are working to secure funds for the important work that's happening each and every day. A specialized license plate would allow Minnesotans a voluntary way to show their support. In researching similar efforts across the country, there are over 15 states that already have a specialized agricultural plate that funds valuable programs like FFA and 4-H. Minnesota auto owners are already receptive to specialized license plate, and in 2016, there were over 665,000 plates in circulation. But you might be wondering, why is this important to your district? Well, at the core, we want young people to be successful. Students enrolled in career and technical education classes graduate at a rate of 91%, which is about 10% higher than the state average. Youth involved in 4-H are not only active in their local communities or clubs, but in their communities as well, and are about 2 to 3 times more actively to be civically active. So this bill has support among not only agricultural companies and organizations, and many of them are listed on the handout in your packet, but we continue to hear from individuals who say they would like to get involved and support the license plate as well. An example of one of our business partners that's stepping up to the plate in our preliminary outreach is Compeer Financial Services, that already has indicated they'd outfit their nearly 150 vehicles with this plate if it was available for them. In regards to the design of the plate, we really want to tap the talent and the energy of our youth, and we'd be asking all FFA and 4-H members to submit designs to help create an image that was beautiful and captured agriculture in our state. I believe that Minnesotans want students to be successful in the classroom and active contributors to their communities, which FFA and 4-H have been doing for years. But knowing that students are the best people to testify and share the impact on the programs of 4-H and FFA, I've asked 3 individuals that are all University of Minnesota students, and they're coming in here for some real-life education, and they carpooled with me today. I would now ask Connor Holtus to join us, and then we'll get through to a couple others that are with us to share the impact that FFA and 4-H have had. So Connor, if you would share where your full name and where you're from.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hornstein. I'm Connor Holthouse, a freshman at the University of Minnesota and a recent Minnesota FFA alumni from the Eden Valley Watkins chapter. Growing up, my parents always taught me to be well-rounded and not close any doors to my future too quickly. When I was outside the FFA organization, I thought that in order to join, you needed to come from a strong organization. You need to come from a strong farming background. That is not the case. I grew up on a small hobby farm with my mom being a nurse and my dad being a small business owner. But yet I found my way in. My time as an FFA member was well spent learning many life lessons and knowledge about what the organization has to offer. Not only did it teach me to be a better leader and to be more involved in school, but it also taught me how to give back to my community. We did corn drives, ditch cleanups, and shopping for a less fortunate family during the holidays. As a child, my future plans seemed to be destined for me to take over the family business. During my time as an FFA member, I was able to participate in a few different career development events, such as agriculture sales and market plan. These events opened up new possibilities and doors to me that I never seemed fathomable. Now today, I am pursuing a degree in agriculture education and a minor in agronomy, with the dream to one day give back to the community what it once did for me. FFA has a way to get you highly involved and has driven me in my college life to join Alpha Gamma Rho, a premier agricultural fraternity, and the Go for Crops and Soils Club. I owe everything to the FFA organization for steering me into the right path that I am on today. I'd like to thank all of you for your time and listening to me today. Does the committee have any questions for me?
Thank you very much for your testimony. And does anyone have any questions for Mr. Holthouse?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Holthouse, and welcome. And I wanted to also formally welcome you to the committee, and you did a great job.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Wyatt, and I'm from East Bethel, Minnesota. And I'm here to talk a little bit about 4-H. I, along with my two siblings, am a third-generation Anoka County 4-H alumnus. I'm currently a third-year student at the University of Minnesota studying agricultural education, and I want to share my support of the license plate bill today. 4-H has positively impacted my life in insurmountable ways. When I started as a kindergartner, I had no idea the places that 4-H would take me. From 2015 to 2017, I served as a Minnesota 4-H state ambassador, and through this experience, I was able to travel all across the state of Minnesota and share my love of 4-H with those around me. I learned several life skills that I still use today and will continue to use as I grow as a young professional. I learned how to effectively plan an event, the value of teamwork, how to respectfully stand up for what you believe in, and made a great deal of professional connections with people working in the University of Minnesota Extension. Ultimately, 4-H is what led me to the University of Minnesota and agricultural education. When I sat down and really thought about what I wanted to do with my life, I realized that 4-H was a constant and that I could make it my career. Upon my graduation in the spring of 2020, I hope to work for the program in order to give back a small fraction of what 4-H gave me. I use the 4-H pledge to guide my decisions every single day. It's ingrained in my memory to use my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, and my hands to larger service, and my health to better living. I urge you all to support this license plate bill in order to keep programs as impactful as these thriving for years to come, because 4-H and FFA are incredible programs for the youth of Minnesota. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wyatt. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Wyatt? I just wanted to thank you for your testimony. I especially appreciated the respectfully standing up for what you believe in. I think that's pretty important in these days. Hi, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Bailey Ruin. So I'm Bailey Ruin. I'm from Lanesboro, Minnesota. I grew up in both 4-H and FFA, so I'm kind of summarizing both what Connor and Laura said. I've had firsthand experience from both of these organizations. I grew up on a hog, beef, and crop farm with my family, and I started kind of in agriculture by showing pigs and sheep. But as I've gotten older, I've really gotten more into the leadership side, serving as different officer positions in both 4-H and FFA. Without these two organizations, I'm sure I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today. I now intern for 4-H on campus, and then this summer I'm also interning. And I've done a lot with FFA as my time as a member, and then I'm helping with convention too this spring. And I think it's really important that the youth stays engaged and passionate about agriculture. Our population is supposed to be up to 9 billion, which is over 2 billion what we are right now by 2050. And we need to continue to feed the world. And if the youth aren't engaged in agriculture and have proper education, then it'll be hard to feed the world. So thank you for your time and consideration. Is there any questions?
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Ruin? Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'll tell you, Representative Poppe, when I hear Mr. Holthouse and Ms. Wyatt and Ms. Ruin, I think the future of agriculture is in very good hands.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much for coming down and testifying. Any further testimony on this House file? Anyone in the audience wish to testify? Hey. Do you have any summary comments, Representative Poppe?
Mr. Chair, I just appreciate your support and appreciate that the students were able to join us today because they are the future of agriculture. They're the future of our state and our world, and they already are leading. And this is an additional way for us all to engage with them and to support them and to help create the opportunities to continue with FFA and 4-H. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. Well, with that, I will renew my motion that House File 221 be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed, the motion prevails. Thank you, Representative Poppe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So we are now, as I mentioned before, members, Representative Vogel will be presenting his bill at a future date. He had some, his testifiers could not get in today because of the weather. Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a follow-up to the two bills. I didn't want to say it in relation to, I have no opposition to those bills, but normally, Mr. Lee knows I always wander over. I mean, when we've had like signage at a highway, there I can see on a fiscal note that there is a zero. You have a revenue expense. But as I was looking at these, I mean, it appears at least at the first one we sent to Ways and Means, there is a cost to, I would assume that might be borne by MNIT. And so when it gets to Ways and Means, is there a funding source that isn't there for that bill? Have we, am I reading something wrong, Mr. Lee?
Thank you, Representative Hausman. Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chair and Representative Hausman, so the agency in the fiscal notes identified costs to implement the law. So it would be up to the legislature to appropriate money, whether out of the special revenue fund, which is traditionally been used to cover costs associated with increases in our changes that need to be made in DVS. The legislature could also appropriate from another source. Absent an appropriation, though, I would assume that the agency would take that as they need to use existing resources to cover the programming hours.
And
Hausman.
and Mr. Chair, what about MNIT?
So, Mr. Chair and Representative Hausman,
Mr. Lee.
the minute bills agencies that it works for, so in a sense, it would be revenues or funds that are within the transportation purview in DPS that would be paying the costs of the programming.
And
Representative Hausman.
Mr. Chair, I think, because I think we have maybe 6 or 8 of these bills this year.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, we used to just be able to just haphazardly move them because we were always assured. But, you know, I just didn't know if that model is always working, because if we ever get to a point where there's an unusual burden on a department, then it does matter how many of these we're passing on. And so I just would hope that maybe there's some conversation with the agencies, whether there's some unintended consequence here. At some point, I hope we might be able to just have some conversation.
Well, thank you, Representative. It's a point well taken, and we're going to rely on, we're going to rely on the agencies to, inform us if there are issues with that. Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just paying off what Representative Hausman said, I know that the Department of Public Safety has also had concerns in the past because of the introduction of several plates, because they have to have law enforcement statewide be able to identify and distinguish between fraudulent plates and misuse of plates and things. And so I kind of perked up when Representative Hausman said a half a dozen bills for different plates this year. I suspect at some point we'll hear from the Department of Public Safety on that as well. It's not a singular agency that is affected by this, it's multiple agencies as well as local agencies that would be affected in the state. So just for some historical perspective on that.
Thank you, Representative O'Driscoll. Representative Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And like you, I served in this committee under former chair leader, and he used to always not like these bills from the public safety side and whatever the number of plates. And it seems like it's almost like the county auditor bills we see in government operations. It seems like we're getting more and more of these almost to the point where we may be the state of 10,000 license plates, not 10,000 lakes.
Point well taken, and that's why we may want to set some parameters here. And I think, we had 2 today, and then there are a couple others that have been introduced, but we'll have to just see. I think it's a good reminder that there are issues with this, and thank you for reminding us about Representative Leader, because he really did not like these at all. So, members, if there's no further conversation about this issue, I would now like to call up Representative Hansen to introduce House File 635. And members, what we want to do with this bill is the same thing we did with Representative Hansen's bill last time, and that is just to lay it over, hold it in committee. I think there's some issues about, the exact amount of funding. I know that Representative Petersburg is going to speak to that. He has an amendment, but we're not going to move on that amendment today. But, he has important issues to raise with, again, the funding. And I'll just say, right off the top, even before you present your bill, Representative Hansen, is that, I think all of us on both sides of the aisle agree that there needs to be some compensation for deputy registrars. And I think what we need to figure out here, with the executive branch is, what is that number? And, as I said, I think at a MNLARS committee meeting late last year, Representative Pulaski had a system that he set up for natural disasters. I mean, basically, he was tired of all the special sessions we had to do whenever there was some kind of disaster relief. So in terms of avoiding a special session, he said, look, we're going to ask the county or whatever jurisdiction is asking for disaster aid to quantify to the best degree possible, most accurate numbers possible that they can, submit to the state, and then we would, get our checks out accordingly. So I think it's a good model, and we're going to need, I think, for the deputy registrars in the room, and I think you're working on this, and I appreciate that, some kind of, documentation about the expenses that you want the state to reimburse us for. So I just wanted to say that out front. We're going to hold this bill till we get some really good numbers, and then advance this either separately or as part of a larger MNLARS package. So, but Representative Hansen was ready with his bill today, and I think it's a really important topic. We have some new folks on this committee that aren't necessarily familiar with the issues around deputy registrars, and so Representative Hansen, thank you so much for coming and presenting your bill. And again, the motion is just simply to lay this bill over for possible inclusion in a future finance bill or MNLARS related bill. So welcome back to the committee, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And was it only last week I was here? We were looking at providing some assistance to individual Minnesotans. House File 635 is a appropriations bill for this fiscal year. So you may hear terms of supplemental budget or a deficiency budget. This is an FY19. So if there is money here in this current fiscal year to try to respond to the costs that deputy registrars incurred, and at the same time provide additional dollars for MNLARS. And so I believe the committee has heard and will continue to hear cost needs or expenses that are needed. What I'm trying to do here is make it as simple as possible. So I took an equal amount to MNLARS and an equal amount to the deputy registrars based on the formula that had been proposed last year by the majority at the time. What I'm proposing is that it comes out of general fund rather than any other particular fund. And the things that the chair brought up of how do we deal with this, an ongoing concern, how do we find those dollars? I think that's a discussion for another day. It's a discussion that's needed that hopefully will occur in this committee. And but this particular bill is trying to provide some support for those deputy registrars for those costs that they went through, and also provide for the MNLARS. And I believe there are some people in the audience who would like to testify.
Are there any questions for Representative Hansen, just in general about his bill and his approach here? Representative Nelson?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and members, and Representative Hansen. Now, my understanding of this bill, this is one-time funding to solve some of the issues, but it's not ongoing funding to try and solve or figure out some of the issues about whether the money should be, the split of the money should be changed, or changing fees, or any of those things. This is just one-time money to try and fix or help them out for issues that they've had in the past.
Representative Hansen?
Mr. Chair and Representative Nelson, that's correct. This is one time. This is both MNLARS and the deputy registrars have some needs, and I'm trying to accomplish that in this particular fiscal bill.
And members, we'll probably have the third and a trifecta of Representative Hansen bills next week. He's introduced a more comprehensive, or at least a deficiency bill for the short term to cover a variety of MNLARS expenses. So, we have all of these moving parts to the MNLARS question, and we're trying to hear all of them as they come up and separately. So, did you have a follow-up, Representative Nelson?
Mr. Chair, I look forward to that, because I know this is a situation we need to remedy moving forward. We need to make sure this system works for the citizens in the state of Minnesota, and we need to make sure we do it right.
Thank you. That's, I think, a shared goal for everyone around this table. Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think this question may be a clarifying question for either Mr. Burris or Mr. Lee. On line 2.12, and I know we had discussion last year, but I can't remember. It talks about the available funds allocated proportionally to the number of transactions where filing fee is retained by deputy registrar. 2.7 talks about those that are underneath statute 16833. What other titles and registrations would be done outside of sections 168.33? Do you remember that?
Mr. Lee? Or Mr. Burris, sorry.
Mr. Chair, Representative Petersburg, I'm not sure I'm quite following your question. That reference to 168.33 is that's the location where the filing fee is imposed for most types of motor vehicle transactions. So new, renewals, new registrations. There are a variety of other types of fees that can also be imposed in conjunction with a motor vehicle transaction, but this would be the filing fee provision.
Representative Petersburg.
If I could clarify my question, well, it seems like section 2 under 2.7 and section 2.3 under 2.12 are the same wording, only the one number 3 doesn't include the section 168.33. So I was trying to remember what was outside of section 168.33 that deputy registrars would be collecting, and that was my question, I guess. I just can't remember. That's all.
Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair, Representative Petersburg, I wouldn't read that as being separate fee calculation. So there's not a cross-reference to the statutory site on 2.13, but I would read it as being referencing the same filing fee that's imposed under that 168.33.
Well, maybe.
So it's a different.
Mr. Chair, maybe we'll hear more in your testimony and clarify later.
Okay. And, we definitely want to have a good discussion here about this. We have some time to really dive in pretty deeply into this whole question of deputy registrars, the history of the problems, why they need compensation. Certainly for last year, we know that there's issues that are current and ongoing. These are all questions that have to be addressed. And again, I think this is something that we all feel. The deputy registrars work hard. They are businesses. They were impacted through no fault of their own by some of the problems. And so I think we're in agreement generally about the need for this. Again, we just have to settle on the figure and how we get to that figure. Are there other questions of the committee? I know we have testifiers as well, so any other questions for the author? Okay, I believe Deputy Commissioner O'Hearn is here and may want to testify. I hope I didn't surprise you, Commissioner. I had your name on a list here. So. Please state your name for the record and welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Cassandra O'Hearn, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Safety. In all honesty, I would rather have been testifying for the 4-H and the FFA. I'm an alum of both, and it was really exciting to see them here. And I think I agree with your statement that the future is looking bright with them. With respect to this particular bill, however, I wanted to thank the author and this committee for recognizing the need for investment in the MNLARS system, and we look forward to continuing to work with the authors to get the numbers right, to whether with respect to what is needed for MNLARS itself, what is needed for deputy registrars, and what is needed for DVS staffing, because there is a piece and a component for all of those. The system needs to work, but staff need to be there to process. And the individuals who process these transactions are both deputy registrars as well as DVS staffing. And we understand there are other bills that address those. And so I'm really here to thank you for bringing this forward, for starting the conversation, and we look forward to continuing the conversation as we move forward.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Deputy Commissioner O'Hearn? Well, thank you for being here, and I know you'll be in the audience if something else comes up today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I saw Mr. Hurst there. He's got the LCDs ready to go. Welcome, Mr. Hurst, and please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jim Hurst. I am the representative for the Minnesota Deputy Registrars Association, an association that has represented the deputy registrars in the state since 1976. I've had the privilege of representing them for nearly the last 20 years as well. I want to begin by also thanking the author for bringing this bill forward. And I would like to state that the MDRA supports this legislation, and we especially want to acknowledge that we support the balanced approach that it takes. By that, I mean not only does it recognize the need for the compensation for the deputy registrars, but it also recognizes the need for additional funding for MNLARS to move forward. As many of you know, MNLARS was granted $10 million last year, and that money, plus a very appropriate legislative oversight since then, we firmly believe that progress has been made on that system. There is still work to be done on that, but certainly in the last year we have seen progress with that system, and we do not want to see things suspended due to a lack of funding that is expected by the end of this month. And certainly there is a danger of slipping backwards if maintenance is not maintained to that system as well. In regards to deputy registrar reimbursements, yes, we very much appreciate the overwhelming support for that. Unfortunately, we had that last year as well, but it did not result in any meaningful compensation, so to speak, at the end of the day. We have been communicating with the governor's office, and we're very pleased that he also shares that support for compensation. Our last conversation suggested that he was comfortable with compensation somewhere in the $10 million range, but I think it's very important to note, and we discussed this as well, that we are now in the second year of MNLARS. And certainly $10 million in compensation for the first year is very similar to what was proposed last year with the $9 million. But we need to address something for now that we're in year 2. And ultimately, what we need to do is to make sure that we don't keep coming back to the legislature for future compensation, because our historic business model, which has served us well for many years, is based solely on the collection of filing fees in conjunction with any completed transaction that we do with the customer. That has historically always served us well. It covers our costs and affords us the opportunity to make the necessary investments going forward. Those filing fees have not been increased in 8 years for motor vehicle, as well as 6 years for driver's license. And just yesterday, legislation specific to that was introduced. And I want to thank Representative Elkins, who's the chief author on that legislation, and Senator Senjum in the Senate, who has that companion bill. But that will, of course, be a discussion later in session, but we look forward to having a discussion on that as well. We have identified what we believe are fair and reasonable filing fee increases to move forward. But of course, everything is related to having the proper amount of compensation moving forward as well. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude my remarks and be more than happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurst. And I did want to say that we will definitely be hearing Representative Elkins' bill in this committee. Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have 2 questions that I'll just ask together, and you can respond, Mr. Hurst. Appreciate you coming forth. First off is, in your discussions with both the private-owned and county-run driver's license registration bureaus, do you have kind of a ballpark figure of what the cost has racked up to be in regards to this? Is the first question. Second question is related to the question I asked earlier. The 90% that's split up between Section 2 and Section 3 of this bill, can you give me an explanation of what the difference between those two are?
Thank
Certainly,
you,
Mr. Chairman and Representative Petersburg, thank you. And I did mean to address the impact that we've identified within our organization. A year ago, we put out a questionnaire survey to all offices in the state of Minnesota. And for those of you not familiar, deputy registrars are about 174 offices statewide and across the state. And of those offices, roughly 75 are privately run and operated. The different amount, roughly 99 offices, are either city or county run, and of those 99, I believe it's split somewhere around 65-35, somewhere around there, county versus city. Anyway, we sent out this questionnaire that asked, I believe, 9 questions. Most of them had to deal with impact since the start of MNLARS compared to the comparable period exactly 1 year prior. Now, when we did that first survey, we were 5 months into MNLARS. So we had data reflecting what the first 5 months of MNLARS was compared to the comparable period exactly 1 year prior. We got about 65% response rate from all offices, which we thought was a very good sample. And taking that as a representative sample, we applied that to be 100%. We expanded that to be 100% and then expanded it out to reflect 1 full year. And again, we wanted to be very careful. We wanted to be very conservative in our numbers and everything. We did not want to go overboard. We wanted to make sure we could, without question, back up these numbers. when we gathered all the data and entered it all in and extended it, we came up with a first-year projected impact of about $10.5 million. So a few months ago, we went back and we did exactly the same survey. We wanted to say, okay, first year of MNLARS, what is the impact? And same questions to the previous one-year period. And the response that we got back largely confirmed that first initial projection of 10.5. However, I will say this, it had only 43% response rate. And when we extended that out, it came in at around somewhere between $8.5 and $9 million. So again, largely confirmed the first one, but of course, we had fewer participation on the second one, which was unfortunate, but I think if we'd have had closer to 100% or closer to the initial 65% response, I think it would have largely confirmed back to somewhere in that $10 million range. Last year, there was a proposal for $9 million, and that proposal had a formula for reimbursement back to offices based on transactions done by offices. It was what we thought was a very fair and equitable way to do it. It also was a very expeditious way because while these offices are struggling, we did not want to burden them with unnecessary bureaucratic paperwork, so to speak, to try and get compensation back to them. And when we took a look at the formula and applied it to the $9 million then, most offices, and we surveyed a number of offices, I was privy to know what each individual office would likely receive. I did not share that openly with everyone, but I did reach out to a number of offices, and they overwhelmingly said, you know what, that isn't quite the full amount that I think I'm out, but it comes pretty darn close. So we felt pretty confident that that formula was good and equitable to all offices. And it took a look at what the amount of transactions were done for a 3-year period prior and then a period post-MNLARS for the split. The only difference with this legislation's formula, there is one slight change, and I think it's an improvement. Instead of a 50-50 split, there is a 50-50 split after you allocate 10% of the fund equally to every single office. And that was a feature that I believe was in Representative Nash's bill last year. And I recognize that, there are going to be, if you do just a straight split 50-50 based on transactions, you're not recognizing some of those smaller offices that don't have that many transactions to begin with. And by applying 10% of the fund equally to all offices, that helps alleviate that discrepancy for those offices, which I think is a very, very important improvement on the bill. I trust that answers, but certainly I would welcome a follow-up if I didn't answer.
I think that'll suffice for now.
All right, thank you.
So, thank you.
Excellent. Representative Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I may have missed it, but I know over the past year or so that some of the deputy registrars have had a really tough time. When you did that second survey, had any of them dropped out by that point?
Mr. Hurst.
Mr. Chairman and Representative Mason, a very good question. Quite honestly, I am shocked that, to the best of my knowledge, no office has gone under. There was one office initially that did suspend their operations. In all honesty, that was a county satellite office with limited hours to begin with, and it was established with the understanding by that county that they would not keep it open if they were not showing at least breaking even. And of course, MNLARS made sure that it could not break even at best. So with the exception of that one office, and there was also one other public office that was out of commission, I believe, for a couple months, but it's my understanding they're back in operation. I suspect, I don't suspect, it's the ability of offices who, in their day-to-day business, they're smart. They don't, these are not businesses to just break even. They need a little bit of a profit margin to set away for a rainy day. A number of these offices, fortunately, had those reserves and relied on those. However, those reserves are running out. And not only that, yes, there are offices who did take out loans and mortgage their houses in some cases to get through the difficult times. But at this point, no office has closed. But I don't think we can go another session without some type of relief for these offices, because otherwise I fear there will be wholesale closures, if not for fiscal reasons, just out of fiscal frustration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Mason. Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hurst, could you clarify some of the discussion that we had last year was a little bit about liability on the state's end to the deputy registrars and the contractual agreements, and that there was no indemnity within the bills that were proposed? So a registrar would receive a payout and would not have any further indemnity to the state. So that was a discussion that was had. And then also, upon receiving a payout, I don't believe I see it in the bill, but there was some discussion about a deputy registrar's commitment to stay open for a certain period of time. So a registrar's office get $50,000, $100,000, whatever, depending on the transaction levels, but there was no commitment that that registrar's office would then remain open for the public to provide services. Either the author want to address that a little bit, but just clarify where we're at on those issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Koznick. I think those are good ideas. I think this is the beginning of a journey rather than the end. My purpose in getting this bill out there was to start that conversation, and I also started it prior to being aware of what the new executive's proposal would be. But I think take it at face value that we're looking at trying to provide support for both the deputy registrars and MNLARS, and I think providing protection for the taxpayers is a good step to add on. So I would be open to working with you and the chair and the committee on adapting legislation.
Representative Koznick.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Representative Hansen. I guess it was unclear if there was an indemnity needed, and I don't know if staff had an opinion on that. It was something that was discussed a little bit with the body across the street a little bit. So I don't know if there was an indemnity needed or not, if they're able to sue the state. And so it might be a point that's not necessary, but it was certainly something that I thought, that I had concerns with. And then also with the commitment to stay open, and if Mr. Hurst, or I know we have some other registrars, but as a spokesperson for the association, if you've had discussions on that, being included in part of a settlement.
Mr. Hurst.
Mr. Chairman and Representative Koznick, a short answer is no, we've not had any discussions specific to indemnity in this fashion, nor have we had any discussions about the potential of an office closing after receiving funding. I certainly would hope they would not consider that, but it's fair to bring up such concern, and I recognize that. But we would be certainly open to working with you and others for any clarifying language to that effect. I give you my commitment on that.
I don't know if did you want nonpartisan staff to address whether there was an indemnity issue or not? You looked over at them, and I wasn't sure.
We can continue to explore it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Hurst? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hurst, and for your work over many years on behalf of Deputy Registrars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
So we have our next testifier is Mr. Stephen Huser from Metro Cities. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Huser. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Stephen Huser. I represent Metro Cities. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today on House File 635. Metro Cities supports House File 635, authored by Representative Hansen. Issues with the rollout of the new state licensing and registration system, or MNLARS, have caused significant disruptions to services provided by city-run registrar offices. And in some cases, registrars are having to turn to other local revenue sources, such as property taxes, to manage these issues. There are city registrar offices located throughout the state with 11 city registrars in the metropolitan area. Metro City supports funding to compensate registrars for costs associated with the implementation and processing burdens associated with the new system, and support actions by the state to expedite necessary corrections to the MNLARS system. Thank you for the opportunity to express our support for House File 635, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Huser. Any questions for Mr. Huser? Appreciate your being here. And we have one last testifier that at least is signed up. Is Christy Bocage here?
You said it right.
Yeah. The more the merrier in terms of testifiers, so we have room for you here. Welcome, Ms. Bocage. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chairman Hornstein and committee members. My name is Christy Bocage, and I'm from the South St. Paul Deputy Office. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come and just to have a few statements. And first and foremost, I wanted to thank Representative Hansen and Representative Mason for this bill and putting something together that that can help to reimburse us for some of the having to carry some of the financial burden of this MNLARS system for almost a year and a half. As you've heard in some of the comments made, I'll just add a few other comments coming from us in the private sector. Kelly, if you want to state your name as well.
Kelly Davison, I'm the owner of the Prior Lake License Bureau.
And both of us are part of not only the MDRA, but we're also part of the Deputy Registrars Business Owners Association as privately owned business owners. When we were told about the MNLARS system, we knew it would take us more time and resources. What we didn't know is how catastrophic this launch of this new software would be to all of us and, of course, our customers. DVS has readily admitted that we are going to be doing more of the work, and that is with a fully functional system. So you can imagine with a system that is not functioning, how that has affected not only our business processes, but our ability financially to support doing this system. Even the fixes with the new releases continue to cause us issues, and I can give you an example. So today I walked out and I saw my business manager as well as one of my employees trying to work with the new launch. And as this is the packet of templates that they need to use to be able to look through and decide how they were going to transfer a plate and then go to this stack to then decide what the job aid they were going to use to be able to help that transaction happen. So when we talk about how this has created a financial burden for us, you can imagine if what used to take maybe a couple minutes, now you're dealing with something like this, it really does cause our offices to have to look at how are we staffing. Because in addition to using all of these job aids and slowing us down that way, you have to look at how long it takes for some of these, sometimes taking 3 to 4 times longer than what it used to take. For the very same process that I was just describing, we must collect and close our financial cart and then proceed to the next step. And even though that transaction is not complete, if that step fails, which sometimes, as you've heard from MNLARS and some of the issues that it's had, we are expected to collect a partial payment from the taxpayer and then sometimes support that out of our own pocket. So along this year and a half or more journey, there's been times when we have had to go and dip into our own pocket just to make sure that the customer who's standing in front of us is able to leave it in some sort of a timely fashion. So when you've made comments, which we really appreciate, that we are out here asking for support, it's because of the things that I know you know a lot about, but it is because we are continuing to support it literally out of our own pockets. And as he commented, from cities and counties, sometimes from different budgets or tax. Technology should be easier to use for our customers, and we know more and more of the easier transactions will go online, as it should. I use my phone to transact with everything. I don't know about the rest of you, but it's wonderful. That said, all those really easy 2 to 4 minute transactions as they trickle away from us, we'll be left with the things where the customers have problems and they come to us, and that's what we are there for. So as you mentioned, when we look at us, we are a family. I know Kelly's mentioned that with her staff as well, is that not only am I a family with the folks that work in our office, they've been there, some of them, lucky enough, we keep some of our people, but the customers who come to us are usually from our communities. And so we work hard for some of those transactions, and you're only making $6 or $10 a transaction. Or when you're looking at driver's license, which now takes us significantly longer, and not because the system doesn't work, that system does work, but the process of doing a real ID or an EDL takes longer for us, and we only get $8. So when you hear about us asking for some sort of different compensation, and I know that Chairman Hornstein has discussed that as well, is that as you look at this and as you look into the future, we really implore that you look at how it is that we are compensated so that we can continue to provide the services that are needed and help the customers that really do need the help from us. So how have we done this? I know there was a question, I can't recall who it was from, but how have we survived? Well, we've been using our personal savings. We have been not paying ourselves for months. We have been doing things such as borrowing against 401ks, or sometimes I've heard from deputy offices who are borrowing against their mortgages. So that is how they've survived for a year and a half. And as it was alluded to here as well, is that this can't keep going. I mean, right now we've been able to kind of hold on and hopes that we trust that something will happen. But if it doesn't, I don't know if there's going to be a future for that. So basically, I'm here imploring you to pass this bill for us now and work with the folks who are putting something really nice together for us. But also going forward, look at a different type of compensation for us so that all the additional work that we are doing and that we want to do, that we're able to do that in the right way and be able to pay our staffs. So, and stay in business.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Ms. Bocage? Okay, great. Ms. Davison, did you want to testify also?
I just wanted to say that I was here last year testifying that I had taken my retirement out and put into the business to stay open. And currently, I've taken a loan against my life insurance policy because I don't want to lose my house. So your support is very needed, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to just ask you to state your name for the record as well.
Kelly Davison, owner of the Prior Lake License Bureau.
Fantastic. Okay, so members, Representative Bernardi, question for either Ms. Davison or Ms.
Just
Bocage.
briefly, and it's not a question, it's just a comment. I have visited my my facilities in my community quite a bit and have talked with the staff, and I know the sacrifices staff have made during this, and I want to thank you for it because it really was a sacrifice and it really impacted people's lives that were trying to do good for their customers, and I want to thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you. Any other questions or comments? Representative Hansen.
Mr. Chair, and I do want to note Representative Bernardi has been in the MNLARS Deputy Registrar world for a year and a half as well, and has been fighting for her constituents and has been going to the registrars. And I have to stop by because I have to renew my driver's license at the South St. Paul Registrar, but I have to get my hair cut first. So I'll see you shortly.
We'll see you shortly.
So we'll have a full report on how this affects
I'll let you
Representative Hansen. Okay, are there any other questions for the testifiers or for the author? Representative Hansen, did you want to make any closing comments? I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you as well for your work, for showing up. Oh, yes, before we do anything, first of all, I want to thank you for showing up and being a part of this for many months on end. And I think your advocacy and your voice has put this before the legislature, I think, in a very meaningful way. So as you've stated, with working with Representative Hansen and others, we do plan to move some relief quickly for you. But I know that Representative Petersburg has some thoughts about this as well, and the level of funding and how we fund. And I wanted, before we sort of close this out, I wanted to have Representative Petersburg talk a little about an amendment he's prepared, which he's going to just talk about. But again, we're holding this bill in the committee, so we're not going to vote on this amendment. But I wanted Representative Petersburg to, discuss some of his ideas with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and if that's okay for me, just talk about that, I won't offer the amendment. I'll just do that. So, 11 million and change is fine. I think last year we had 9 million and 5 million, 1 and 2 years for 14 million altogether, and we thought that was a little skimpy at that time, and I think that's probably the case. And so we really, I wanted to really talk a little bit about that. Even at the end of the session there, when the bill got vetoed for the original 9 million, we tried for a veto override, and that didn't work either. It's very concerning to me that it seems like we're continually rewarding the people that are putting together MNLARS for them not really completing the job, and yet penalizing the people that are having to work with the failed attempt already. And it's something that I think as a legislature, we really need to understand the impact that our agencies that we are funding and how they impact the lives of individuals that are certainly committed to supporting those agencies and what they're doing. Because I think this is really kind of a shortfall for them. And none of the bills that we have in front of us at this point even start talking about the ongoing reductions in funding that's going to be necessary to move forward. Because just as the testifiers have said, the Department of Vehicle Services said they knew that they were going to be moving some of the responsibility and workload to the deputy registrars, and then not have any other fee increases or any other way of addressing those additional funds is really not fair, and it's certainly not equitable to those individual driver's license bureaus. So I think for whatever we can do, Mr. Chair, we need to come up with something that is quantifiable and qualitative in regards to the amount of dollars available, but also hold them harmless for the fiasco that we put upon them, and to figure out how we can move forward with a way in which they can stay in business and keep providing the service that people out in the community are looking for, that are demanding, and have something that's fair. So thank you for that opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you, Representative Petersburg, and I think you make some good points about the 9 and the 5. We do want to get to that number. And I also would just comment that, I don't think it was necessarily the funding that was at issue last year. It was the source of the funding. And so I want to express my appreciation, Representative Hansen, for your being direct and straightforward about looking at the general fund. And that's something we're going to have to advocate for. I mean, that's something that I, as chair, have a responsibility to, and I think all of us members, when we are crafting our budget, that we want to make sure that we get, in our target and other sources of, pots of money that are out there, that we really look at the general fund as a source. Because if we start looking at DVS money that could be used for staff, then we're not necessarily solving the problem that way. So, point well taken, and I hope we can not, delay this further.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. And in regards to that, the really negotiation comes down when we start setting targets in the dollars. So I appreciate any support that you can give to help us get some of those figures.
I think this is something that I think most members, if not all, on the committee agree on. More things we agree on than disagree on. Cell phones and MNLARS, I think we're together on, and I think other issues as well. But rest assured, I think on a bipartisan basis, we're committed to this question, and it's really the funding source and the level is what we need to work out. But fundamentally and philosophically, you've made a good case, and we totally understand the urgency of this. Are there any other questions of the committee? And okay, Representative Hansen, did you want to
Thank you.
send us home? Representative Torkelson is back, and he's been a champion of this issue. So we're talking about deputy registrars, Representative Torkelson. And we're kind of wrapping up here, but I know you've worked on this long and hard, and wanted to see if you had any comments, any thoughts as we lay this bill over.
Well,
We're not
thank you.
Moving it out of the committee, we're laying it over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My timing is good for a change.
Yeah.
So, there's no doubt that deputy registrars and others that depend on the MNLARS systems for their livelihoods have been done a great disservice by the state of Minnesota. And it's not a small deal. It's a big deal. We're going to fix this thing, I believe, one way or another. But in the meantime, we should do what we can to make sure these people stay whole. So I'm not sure what else you discussed today,
No,
but
pretty much.
I think you know where I
think
come
you had
down
a-
on the issue.
A good summary statement there, and we'll give the last word to the author, Representative Hansen.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's great. So members, we are going to lay this bill over. So I'll move that that House File 635 be laid over for possible inclusion in a future funding bill. Members, we are going to hear House File 861 next week. Our plan is that's another MNLARS proposal. It's a deficiency proposal that I think Representative Torkelson and I will hear a little bit more about shortly, that the governor and the executive branch are proposing. Representative Hansen is the author of that as well. So it's my intention that we'll hear that bill a week from today, and have an opportunity to present amendments and discuss that further. But that, among other bills, I think, for a week from today, just a heads up to folks. And so with that, there's no further business before our committee, and we stand adjourned.